Hi, welcome to Monday Minutes. I'm Nick.
And I'm Jessie. And this week we're here to talk to you about the development process in Koha. We've had so many new libraries over the last year, and we thought, what a great time to talk about how everything works. So, Nick, let me ask you a question to start.
Okay.
I'm at a library and I'm thinking about a new workflow that I'd like to
Mhm.
see within Koha, or maybe I want a new option in a dropdown, or whatever the scenario would be. What would be the first step for me as a librarian to communicate with Bywater that I'd like to find out more about how we can do this?
So these are some of my favorite tickets because the most exciting part of working on an open source software is that we can directly change it.
That's right.
So generally what will happen is this ticket will come in, the librarian will say, hey, I want to do X, or can Koha do X? And we'll say, huh, no one's thought of that yet. And so then what we do, we'll tell the partner, that sounds like a development. Would you be interested in a quote? What that means is that this is something where Bywater is going to give you a quote to do paid development work on Koha to develop this new feature, however you need it, and get it into the community. So where we start with that is if you say yes, we're going to take that to an internal meeting called DevRev, which is the development review meeting. And the point of this meeting is we get a bunch of different departments from Bywater together. We bring in educators, we bring in the data team, we bring in systems folks, and we bring in the developers. And we have a conversation about the workflow that you're looking at and whether it serves a purpose for a lot of other libraries, in which case we're going to try to adjust the development so that it's kind of flexible and a lot of different libraries can use it. And so we just kind of review the development there, and we kind of decide on a path forward. Once we've done that, we supply a quote, we give this to the library, and the library can decide at that point they want to fund the development entirely, or they might want to crowdfund the development.
Which leads into my next question, Nick. So, let's say the development costs are outside of their range that
Mhm.
they have available for spending. Talk to us about what the development crowdsourcing site does for users that they can collaborate. So the idea of one, they can work with other libraries to kind of push that forward.
Yeah, just like you said, it's all about collaboration. Sometimes it's a bigger development than you thought when we started, and so it's going to cost more money than expected. In which case, we're saying, let's present it to other libraries. Let's get some other partners invested and see if we can get a group of libraries to work together. This has worked great in the past with organizations like Koha US. We'll post a lot of their ideas onto the crowdsourcing so they can shop them around to their member libraries and see who's interested.
I think this is a great one for us to talk about because I remember this one coming to DevRev.
Yeah.
Um, Valerie, shout out to Valerie. She talked
Woohoo.
about this in one of her presentations at the Koha US conference. And Montgomery County was in the room and they were like, we have some money to sponsor this. How can we help? And so this is great because this talks about exactly that whole essence. Like somebody had an idea,
Yeah.
collaboration happened, and then you can see here exactly what's going to happen. It tells you what the current workflow is in Koha, what development would entail, and then what the expected outcomes are. And this is just a great way to be able to kind of visualize or talk about what's happening. If there is a bug in the community, it will also be linked out to that community bug.
And if you're curious more about interactive inventory, we have a Monday Minutes on that, and it's a special one.
It is a special one. Okay, Nick, so to tie everything up, why don't we give an overview of how the Koha community development process works?
Yeah.
And we'll highlight that.
Yeah. So once it's gone through crowdfunding or the library has paid for it, it comes to the developers and we develop it. Now sometimes, developments in the community can come from anybody. They can be done by librarians, they can be done by developers, or any users across the world. So essentially what we do is you have Bugzilla, which is the main website where everything goes. Someone contributes the code. Step two, once the code has been posted there publicly for everyone to see, is testing. Bywater is going to reach out to work with the library on testing where we can. We'd love to have direct feedback and see how it works for you. So we'll put it up on a test site somewhere and kind of walk you through the steps and be there to gather the feedback from you about how it works, and move it to the next step. This phase in the community is called sign off. So need sign off, and then afterwards it's signed off. Next, it goes to quality assurance. Quality assurance are the people who try to keep the bugs out of Koha. So they review the code at a little deeper level. They start at the, testing, does it do what it says it does? Like, you've given us a test plan, does it work the way it's supposed to? If it does, great. The next step they do is they look at the code a little deeper and they say, does it meet the coding guidelines? Does it match the rest of Koha? And does it not break anything else?
Yeah.
So QA is the step where it can kind of go back and forth a few times, back to the testing phase, come to QA, have some comments, back to testing. But once we get past QA, and the status is past QA, it goes to the release manager. The release manager is the elected person who every 6 months is in charge of a release cycle. They decide what bits of code that have passed QA are going to go into Koha. So they're sort of the last gatekeeper to say, hey, while this feature is really cool, somebody else wrote the same feature, and you're going to have to make them work together and do things like that and sort out that kind of stuff. Once they push it out to into the release, then it gets released to the community. Every 6 months, we have a major release of Koha, which Bywater gets upgraded to several months after the fact. But that's it. At the end of this development process, the code's now on your site and on everybody's site. Anybody who's using Koha is going to have this development included.
So the idea of one or a few becomes everybody's, which is the most important thing about
Koha. It's the power of community.
power of community. Oh, Nick, this was great. We've had a lot of people kind of ask about how developments work and how the process works in the community. So I think this is great to just give a good overview. Thank you for explaining things.
Yeah, thank you, Jessie.
All right, y'all, have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.